Hello, good evening. I want to make a quick announcement that we'll be recording this evening's show. It's so lovely to see all of you. My name is Ashley Jaden. I work at 911 as an equity coordinator, and I'm a big supporter and friend of API Forward. It's an honor to be your MC this evening. For those of you who are new to API Forward, this is an organization that supports and builds leadership and equity among Asian and Pacific Islanders. Welcome to Vision 2022. Each year, we take this time to share our vision for the next year and also share with you our 2022 Forward Leadership Student Cohort. But before we launch into this program, I'd like to invite everyone to take a group picture. I promise you it will not be as much effort as when your 10 aunties hand over their cameras for a family photo. All you need to do to participate is turn on your camera and smile. It will take us just a few minutes. So board members, the person in charge of the photo, would you please take a screen capture? And for everybody, all you have to do is smile. Just check to look at how you're looking on your camera. I see, thank you. Michelle's just turned on her camera. Thank you, Minook. Thank you, folks. So, all right, everybody, take a look at your square, smile, say cheese, cheese. All right, think we got it. All right, now back to our presentation. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you all to the force behind API Forward. Here we have with us Christian Anisiete, Tracy Lamb, co-founder and secretary, Vicky Ng, Carissa Sia, A.K. Diego, Yuhan Kinder, our treasurer, Ping Ka, co-founder and president, and David Pan, who unfortunately could not be here with us tonight. Next, we want to bring your attention to the Forward Leadership Program and our recent graduate, Rosalie Agulto. Rosalie graduated from our program this year, and she recently just joined the workforce. To lead us in a conversation with Rosalie is board of director and co-founder, Tracy Lamb. Tracy, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you everyone for being here. What a great way to, I guess, wrap up the week. I don't know about you, but I had a pretty long week. But as many of you know, API Forward Signature Program is the Forward Leadership Program. It is a 4-month-long, hands-on, community-based, project-based program that our college students partake in every year. And I have the pleasure of introducing to you our 2021 student, one of our 2021 students, Rosalie Agulto. So Rosalie, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you again. First of all, tell us, what was the project that you and your teammates worked on as part of the Forward Leadership Program?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, to answer your question, last year's project, the organization that we worked with was with the Port of Portland, specifically with the Ports Women and Development Network. And how this all started was that from existing data, they were finding that when women and people of color were being promoted, they were being paid less than expected. And so our task was to find out what could possibly be those reasons behind those pay inequities. So before we started this project, they had disseminated out a survey for their employees to answer. And then from there, we were to identify those gaps and come up with recommendations.
Wonderful, thank you. What were some of the elements of the Forward Leadership Program do you think that helped you in ways that you never thought of?
Yeah, well, 3 things come to mind. The first point is turning my weaknesses into my strengths. So prior to this program, I always thought that I was a shy person. I never really was the one to step up to the plate to really be that leader. And so, you know, we had been working in a virtual environment. And I think that a lot of students had missed out on a lot of opportunities to really excel. And thinking to myself, this was the final year before I graduate. And so I told myself, like, why not give it my best? And that's exactly what I did. So going into the program, I knew that I had to address my weaknesses and take them head on. And that really allowed me to become a leader, which leads me to my second point of envisioning myself as a leader. I could say now that I'm more confident. I'm more comfortable with speaking my opinions and really raising my voice for not only myself, but also for the voice of others. And lastly, leading to my last point on advocacy. So this project was on inequities, and it was really such an eye-opener for me to learn about inequities in our society through this project. And I would say that it came as a culture shock to me because I was born and raised on the island of Saipan, and I had only been living in the US for 3 years. So a lot of it was new to me, but I really feel that being part of the Forward Leadership Program allowed me to learn more about that, to really educate myself and ultimately empower myself to continue to do the work.
Yeah, thank you for that, because that really is the basis of the Forward Leadership Program, and you really exemplified that. And thank you so much for sharing that story. And of course, you have since graduated from Portland State University, I believe, with a degree in health sciences. And I understand you have a job. So tell us a little bit about your job and how you landed it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I still can't believe that I got this job either, but I feel like one of the biggest reasons why I was able to land this job was because of my experience with the Forward Leadership Program. So basically, one of the elements was to do data analysis on the survey responses. And I wanted to take on that challenge. And the reason why I say it was a challenge was because I had done data stuff before, and it was not my strongest suit, to be honest. And I wanted to change that. And so I ended up learning how to work on it more, and which a lot of it was new to me. Fast forwarding to now, I used my experience in the program to land a job with OHSU as a research data analyst. And I feel that not only did the data skills help, but also the equity work that we were doing in the program. So I really feel that my experience with the program served as a stepping stone to continue the equity work, and I'm really looking forward to apply the things that I learned to my new job.
Well, congratulations on that job. And now that you are working as a researcher, tell us about what you hope to do in the future.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like nobody is 100% prepared to answer this question, even as an adult. But what I am hopeful for is that I can continue to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion to the work that I do. And I know that we're coming up in a new year, so I'm really looking forward to, getting out of my comfort zone, speaking up more, doing new things, and really learning about my roots. I come from a Chamorro and Filipino background, and I've been really wanting to learn more about that history so I could use that knowledge to create a better and sustainable future for the Marianas.
That's wonderful. And just kind of thinking, you touched a little bit upon this earlier, but just thinking about your goals for the future and bringing about equity in society. What sort of knowledge or skills do you think you gained from Forward Leadership Program that will help you achieve your goals?
Yeah. So speaking for myself, even if I think that my thoughts, opinions, or concerns don't matter, I really think it's still important for me to voice that out regardless. Coming from an Asian background, I think that we can all relate that we are more reserved to ourselves, and it's considered unusual for us to create attention. But I really think that's a stigma that we need to break. And I think that one of the reasons why I would consider myself as a shy person before was because I was afraid to speak up, thinking that I was the only one thinking that way. but it's so easy to fall into that trap of a mindset when you're a minority, especially when you're surrounded by a majority who don't think or experience the same things that you do. And we are such in a dynamic time right now. And rather than feeling like a victim, I really feel empowered being surrounded by such a supportive community. And that includes the Forward Leadership Program, my teammates, Jordan and Raleigh, my mentor, Jenny Kim, and everyone else that make it such a safe environment for us to express ourselves. And I really think that goes a long way for me to work on building myself up to advocate for better conditions, opportunities, and circumstances for my community.
Rosalie, you are truly an inspiration. I kind of teared up just listening to what you have to say. And we have incoming students in the audience with us tonight. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say congratulations to the new scholars. To answer your question, I would say to use this experience to know yourself better, to understand your values and how you can use this opportunity being in the program to your advantage. And, when you're nervous about something, diving into the project, whether that's taking on new tasks, roles, or responsibilities, rather than shying away from it, I would just say to own it. Like, if you can't get out of it, get into it. And I really feel that has served me good in the end.
Thank you so much, Rosalie, for sharing your journey and your insights. And like I said, you're truly inspiring. And I know I speak for everyone on API Forward Board when I say that we are so proud of you and wish you the very best. So thanks again. And before I pass it back to Ashley, I just want to take a moment to let you know that API Forward, in addition to the Forward Leadership Program, hosts an annual leadership conference. And the next one takes place Saturday, January 22nd. University of Oregon, Portland has generously donated the space. It's free to college students who identify as Asian or Pacific Islander. It's really an opportunity to explore what it takes to be a leader of color, specifically in the 21st century, and getting insight from community leaders and activists as well. So I'll post a link to register in the chat box, but please share it with API college students in your life, because I think this will be a really great opportunity. And hopefully we don't have any other COVID variants to deal with and that we can host this in person. So thank you again, Rosalie, and thank you all for being here. Ashley, back to you.
What a beautiful conversation to watch unfold, and great announcement. So thank you, Tracy and Rosalie. Next, we'd like to have our board of director, Carissa Sheh, whose last name I'm learning, may have gotten it wrong earlier, excuse me, share the results of our annual survey. This year, we asked our supporters, donors, friends, and students to tell us how we did as an organization that supports leadership and equity. We want to know if we're headed in the right direction and if there's any improvement needed. Over to you, Carissa.
Thank you, Ashley. And yes, you nailed the name. So thank you for that. So yeah, our annual survey period was from October 4th to October 11th this year. And the goal of the survey is to gain perspective and insight into our community and how we can improve as an organization. And so some highlights that I'd like to share with you all. First is just regarding our community demographics. So of the survey takers, 72% identify as female, 22% identify as male, and 1% identify as non-binary. 58% of our community identify as East Asian, and 36% of our community is between the ages of 34 to 44 years old. And remember, this is just the survey takers. And so some key takeaways of the survey, the majority of our community interacts with API Forward once a month at most. All participants said that they would recommend API Forward to a friend or colleague. And 72% of participants strongly agreed that their gift to API Forward has been used effectively. And the remaining participants agree. So kind of taking that all, and no one has felt that their gift to API Forward has been used ineffectively, which is pretty great. When asked, why did you choose to support API Forward? I would say the majority of folks who wrote in kind of answers to that question chose to support API Forward because of their alignment with our mission to support young API leaders. And so it was really great to kind of get all that information and really dig into it. And so at the end of October, our board of directors got together for our annual retreat, and we discussed the survey results at length, and we really dove into how we could broaden our outreach to connect with API folk who identify as non-East Asian, as well as male and non-binary folks. So how can we really broaden out our community? We also started to strategize on how we can encourage people to interact more with our social media and our newsletters and online and in-person events. And so the wheels are starting to really turn there, and really excited just kind of to continue improving these sorts of things and to really get into the community more and just spread the word more about what we do. So I'd like to end on a few kind of nice open answers from some survey takers. And so the question, why did you choose to support API Forward? I have a few answers here that I think would be nice to share with everyone. So, quote, I resonate with the mission of API Forward. In Oregon, APIs need to stick together. Supporting college students and providing a pathway to their success is important for the next generation, so I am happy to support. Leadership and professional development for API folks is important to me. For young people to see themselves as leaders in their community and beyond early in their education and careers is crucial. I wish that API Forward existed while I was going through undergrad and had the opportunity to go through the Forward Leadership Program. And last, I believe in API leadership, empowerment, and community. Thank you, API Forward, for cultivating the next generation of API young leaders. So just really great motivation to hear from our community members and survey takers. And so I think it's really motivated us to continue improving and continuing reaching out and getting more people involved. So with that, I will let our president and our co-founder, Ping, take it away.
Thank you so much, Carissa. That's a wonderful report. At least we know that we're heading somewhat the right path, if we're not actually taking the sideways. So this is good. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Lovely people. Thank you so much for joining us at Vision 2022. I'm Ping Kang, president and co-founder of API Forward Foundation. So good to see you all here. I want to thank many of you who have supported us this May and the last few years. Last 2 years, we know it has been extremely challenging. And the best we can do is move forward with hope and determination. And I would like to share with you what we have in mind moving forward. It's kind of like, I'm sure we're always thinking, when will this end? When will we actually go out and see people and hug people? Well, let's cross our finger soon. So this year at API Forward, we have successfully completed another year of program. We added 6 more alumni to our Forward Leadership Program, and we're very proud of the accomplishments. We also launched a series of branding and marketing campaigns to help re-examine and strengthen our focus and future path. With that said, for 2022, we had a few new programs and ideas to share with you all. Since our program inception in 2019, we have had 17 scholars that graduated from the Forward Leadership Program and awarded a total of $36,000 in scholarship. And this is all because of supporters like you that we are able to provide this scholarship. And API Forward is a 100% volunteer-run organization. So your donation goes directly to our operations and programming. So with the success of our program for the last 3 years and more programs we plan to launch, we're seeking capacity building grants to fund a new position. So don't worry here. This means your donation tonight will continue to go towards student scholarships. And we are also partnered with Taylor Villa Neighborhood Emergency Team this October and submitted a grant proposal to the 2021 Community Resilience Grant Pilot Project. So cross our fingers. We hope to hear from the city very soon. And for this coming year, this is great news. We have 4 wonderful bright scholars joining the Ford Leadership Program. Through these 4 months of progress, they will learn the principle of respect, emotional intelligence, and sensitiveness, common sense initiatives, unconscious bias, and building self-confidence. We want to ensure these scholars receive the leadership training and support they deserve to graduate the program next May. So like Tracy said, we had this big event coming up, the annual Forward Leadership Conference, which will be held on Saturday, January 22nd at the University of Oregon campus in downtown Portland. And the space is generously donated by the University of Oregon. This one-day-long conference is free to college students who identify themselves as Asians or Pacific Islanders. So please help us to spread the news and encourage any API college students you know of who might be interested to sign up. And the registration link is being posted in the chat box right now. Where's the chat box? Is that right there? So please tell people to sign up. It's a free conference. We would love to see more students come. All right, next. It's a bit of a good news for me and Tracy. Might not be good news for a lot of people. I would like to Tracy's behalf as well. And we both are going to be stepping down from our role next year, somewhere between May and July. And a new generation of leaders will be taking over our position. I hope you all will show the same support to them and help API forward to grow. Please do not cry. Wait until May or July to cry, okay? Thank you. With all the great programs we have in store for next year, we would like to raise an extra $5,000 so we could accommodate the need for the conference and the scholarship program. So I'm asking for your generous support now. So the ancient Greeks intuitively knew that givers were happier because they have a purpose beyond themselves. So to get a happy dose today, please donate to our program. Of course, we will accept your cash, your checks, and we will take real diamonds. And I believe the price of gold is very high right now. So if you want to donate gold, we'll take it as well.
I think we'll take Bitcoins now too.
Yes, we'll take Bitcoins too, but make sure you give us a big one, okay? We don't want Dogecoin. Dogecoin is too low. All right, so this is what I have to say so far. And thank you so much again. And enjoy this wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ping. And I don't believe there will be too much crying because we've just seen tonight what amazing leadership you two founders, you and Tracy, have done to build the next generation of leaders. So no crying, only strength, solidarity, and a continuation of what you've started. And for all of you out there who are joining us tonight, please be sure to donate. This is such a worthy cause and organization to support, as we've already heard. Next, I'd like to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Dr. Karen Ng. Dr. Ng is the president and CEO of CSMI, an engineering firm. Initially a successful optometrist with a doctorate from the New England College of Optometry, Dr. Ng surprised her family with the bold decision to switch careers and industries to take over the family business. Dr. Ng has used her professional success to support, promote, and mentor other girls, women, and minority business owners, particularly those in STEM-related industries. Her company is especially dedicated to collaborating with other diverse firms. In addition to her work, Dr. Ng is a member of several prominent boards, including National Asian Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce and Entrepreneurship, Illinois College of Optometry, and Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote. She has also had positions on the State of Illinois Business Enterprise Program Council and the Illinois Census Count Commission 2020. Her most recent honor is receiving the National Executive Excellence Award from OCA National in September 2021. She joins us tonight to talk about today's working environment with its ever-increasing complicated problems. She will share with us the ways to solve these problems through the practice of adaptive leadership. It's a process to allow yourself to lead your organization through the difficult, uncomfortable, and sometimes dangerous process of adaptation. If you have questions for Dr. Ng, no worries. We will have 10 minutes later for question and answer after Dr. Ng shares her insight and stories. Please you are welcome to type your question in the chat box and our board will be monitoring. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Ng.
Ashley, thank you so much. You have been a lovely MC. So thank you, Ping and Tracy and API Forward for the opportunity to talk with you. How exciting to be here. We're halfway through and I'm already jazzed up about everything. So I think it's a great testament of the leadership and the pay it forward mindset that speaks volumes for a sustainable organization. I really enjoyed listening to Rosalie speak about topics she is focused on, like equity, leadership, and advocacy. I think that utilizing data and statistics only builds the case to support her initiatives. And congratulations on securing your new path with your new job. I'm going to give you a small challenge, Rosalie, and let you know I'm going to be watching you and listening for that voice that you spoke about. And I encourage you to speak up and speak out. So here we go. I love this topic of adaptive leadership. When Ping did this right up for me, I'm like, I got it. We can do this. It'll be great. And believe me, we've gone through several moments recently where this is critical. So instead of being victims and being reactive, it's a process of thinking things through as far as you can and being proactive. So last night during our dry run, I asked who's the audience? Who are we speaking with? And get this, it was young, older, students, retired, entrepreneurs, corporate folks, different cultures, basically a melting pot of individuals. So I'm not a preacher, but I kind of feel it's a little bit like church because the preacher doesn't know what each person is going through at that moment or what issues they are dealing with, but gives a general message that can be interpreted to apply to that individual's situation. So hopefully my goal is to spark a takeaway or two and help guide your journey in a positive way. So a little bit about me, because I like talking about me. It's the easiest thing to do. I own an engineering company. I've been leading this company since 2000. The three words that are stereotypical of engineers and our awesome staff are reliable, predictable, repeatable. Well, I love the characteristics. I think they're kind of boring and a little bit short-sighted, but it's a good group of people. And if you can provide that situation, they're with you for the long haul. There was no movement or suggestions from our staff during our recessions that we had in the early 2000s and in 2008. And I'll tell you, they were very stressful times because the rent still needed to get paid and payroll needed to be met. And I'll be honest with you, I had a bigger ego that played an active role in the worst way. So I tried to keep that smile on my face, saying everything was going well. I didn't stop paying our staff despite me paying myself and giving myself a paycheck. And eventually we made it through. And then each time I learned more from the experience and carried that lesson and that next lesson to make the next time less stressful. So when we started getting inklings about COVID potentially shutting down the country and causing another recession, I was ready. Unfortunately, I was ready. So there are things I proactively did. So let me preface this a little bit by telling you CSMI has a global presence. And we do work in Asia where COVID initially started. And I actually had been in Japan for business at the end of 2019. So there were a lot of people that like I had gotten I had gotten the vibe early on because I was in Asia. So coming back here, people weren't taking it as seriously, but I did have a little bit of sense. So these are the things I did. So first, I'd been saving our income in an account that was beyond like what you typically save in a normal bank account when you're running a business. The second thing I did was I called my bank and the relationship I had with the bank really early on. And I asked to be the first company to go through the process because I had heard on the news that PPP was going to come into fruition. There was no PPP ever, right? So it was kind of a new thing. The goal was to use my company as a guinea pig so I could have the visibility within the bank and help them work through this new process. And in turn, hopefully I would get the funding for my business and kind of have just be front and center and be that pilot prototype. Third, I did the most uncomfortable thing and I called the entire staff into the office and I spoke to them in person and I said that our company goals included longevity and sustainability and we had to do whatever it took to maintain this. And I listed this plan and committed to do my best to preserve the organization as a whole and each individual person that was in the room. And lastly, I reviewed our strategic business plan and tweaked it to support our clients and our suppliers with their immediate needs. So this included doing a lot of work that we don't typically do, but what needed to get done. And we actually became very good at it. So we provided a solution to our engineering community and it built such goodwill and equity. So the end result, and we're still going through some of this stuff, but we did get our PPP loan and forgiveness twice. We ended up maintaining good cash flow, and we even turned a profit in 2020 while maintaining all of our staff and hiring 3 more engineers. But I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not learned from the previous 2 experiences that hit me hard and not taken a deep look within myself and my ego and just putting it all out there. So I'm a creature of habit. Let's just be clear about that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm a huge proponent of that. I am a loyal fan of many things and many people and many companies. However, this doesn't limit me from delving a little deeper into everything and making sure that we're continually being challenged with myself and the organization. So if we continue to do the same work and not think any differently, I'm pretty confident that our business would have severely suffered, if not survived, right? So let's talk a little bit back about me, right? So my education consists of honors and AP classes, 4-year degrees, doubling, majoring in biology, biochemistry. I have a doctorate. I've gone through various executive MBA programs at prestigious universities. But even with all of that, and I know a lot of you are probably overachievers that have outperformed me. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you have to be open to learning. You know a few people who are so book smart, but not as socially engaged or experienced. I'm thinking like Sheldon Cooper. Is that Sheldon on Big Bang Theory, right? But this is where it gets exciting. It's about building experiences to teach you for the future. It's honoring the struggle and understanding that you're never going to make those same mistakes again. And it's being astute to the signs. So for example, if any of you have ever thought of buying a car or even a new computer, all of a sudden you become so freakishly aware of that brand and model that you are considering, right? You'll notice them on the street, you're noticing the colors, you're like in the Starbucks and you see someone's on that MacBook that you're looking at, and that's being astute. And so what do you think if you could manifest that for your future or your organization or your business, like just being open up and just think about it, how exciting that would be. So while it's comforting to be around people you align with, whether it be the major you're studying, the religion you practice, the culture you identify with, it's eye-opening to learn from people who aren't as like-minded. It's about going to a different part of the campus, attending a different church, immersing yourself in another culture, talking with someone that doesn't share your political views. But I would suggest that you check your ego at the door, observe, and be open and receptive. And while you may not agree, at least you've listened, not heard. That's a very clear distinction, right? That you've listened and not heard to the other side. So with that being said, I just have a few takeaways on some of this stuff. So my first thing on adapting is really just make a decision, right? It's better to make a decision, begin to execute, and make modifications to the plans than it is to be wishy-washy and do nothing and let the situation control you. You need to overcome your fears and uncertainties and move. That's typically what happens when you're like, I'll just wait, whatever. But I think you're kind of scared about it. But if you're apprehensive, there's these like little itty bitty baby steps that you can do. You can start by creating a learning journey map. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like, what will you do to get you there? Like to get you to that next move. So I typically do this. I schedule what I need to learn because the reason why I'm not moving is because I don't know enough about it. So then I got to figure out, what don't I know? How am I going to get there? And then I set a date and I set a schedule. So baby steps, right? So I actually commit to 3 things every day to move that dream forward or move that decision forward. It could be a phone call. It could be doing a spreadsheet. It could be reading an article. It could be putting together a slideshow just to kind of vet out everything. What'll happen is you'll learn, then you'll build competence, then you'll build confidence, and then you'll go and you'll accomplish it, like baby steps. The other thing that I've learned that I think has been helpful is to be a good listener. So I used to challenge everything, and I think that was another ego problem. And the ego, even being a minority female, Asian American female, that we're not usually speaking up, I'm a big fan of always being right, not being wrong. I don't like being bossed around, that kind of stuff. But when you're an active listener, even though you don't agree with whomever is telling you things, at least you've listened and vetted through another thought process. So quite frankly, I think on more times than not, and a lot of times I'm right, because why not? I've acted on some of the recommendations or things that I've never even considered, and they've been successful. I think in this environment, that be a good listener part is we have our views, especially on a political standpoint and in this crazy political climate in the US. This is how you test out how good of a listener you are, because a lot of times you're ready to go jump back in and come back at you. So being a good listener is that point, which leads me to my next takeaway, which is ask good questions. So it's about asking questions the right questions, maybe more than one question, and then developing your plan to align with what you're committed to. I'm going to tell you this quick story. So I was at the airport recently, and I was in the situation where the TSA told me, no, you cannot bring this baggage onto the plane. And so basically it wasn't a life-threatening situation. It wasn't even, it was an inconvenience, not even a big convenience, but I still would have had to deal with it later on. So I'm pondering my next move, and I honestly wasn't getting ticked off. I thought it was an option. It wouldn't be a productive option. And I decided I'm just going to state what I wanted to do. So I said, I want to bring this home, simply. And then I asked the TSA person who had said no, who was not mean, and she wasn't antagonistic. She just said it wasn't compliant. And I asked her, I was like, hey, if you were me, how would you handle this? And you know what she did? She gave me a simple solution that cost me $5 and took 5 minutes. And really, interestingly enough, she didn't withhold it, and she wasn't crazy or like bitchy, I guess is a better word to say it. She wasn't like that at all. She didn't offer it up. But if I didn't ask, I would have just like trudged off and done my own thing. I don't even imagine what the extra steps and time expended had I not asked her the right question. And half the time, I don't even know if I'm asking the right question. I just keep asking, right? Another point is always be generous. I know in Glenn Ross's salesman thing, they always say ABC, always be closing, but there's this thing, always be generous. So in alignment with asking good questions, my favorite question is, how can I help? I probably use this every day, whether it's my staff, the cohorts in our community, family and friends, and network. And I'm comfortable moving forward with the 3 options, whether it's executing their request, telling them I'll consider it or let me think about it, or declining. And this is the point. By asking, how can I help? You change the landscape from being hierarchical to collaborative. And as a leader, that breaks barriers that the staff encounters. So you can approve their ideas, you can fund them with the tools that they need, or even make a call that you have access in your network to get others on board. And a lot of times they're easy to do, and they can be so empowering to the team. And being generous also builds equity in your relationships and may prove helpful when you need help. And the last one is really invest in relationships. So people want to work with people that they like and they trust, hands down. And not everyone's going to like you, and you won't like everybody, but there are those that you just click with. And from there, that's where you build that strong relationship. And people learn to trust you when you follow through and you keep your word and you clearly communicate with them. So I have the privilege of a great network of leaders and supporters and advocates. They're not only successful at their careers, they're good people, they're humble, and they're just there for me. So when I run into a dilemma, I can call anyone from my network, and they are responsive and they help me work through it, and they give me the time and the patience and actually follow up to make sure I'm okay. And an added bonus is I can say that I'm proud to call them my friends. So hopefully that helps out a little bit about adaptive leadership. And with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. I love it. I love everything that you guys are doing. I'm so proud of you. I am going to offer up of how can I help, and you can reach out to me. I was sitting here as I was listening. I was paying attention, but I was like sitting there trying to find everybody that's on here on social media to see what you're doing and what you love and are passionate about. So if I can help you, reach out to me and I'll do my best. And let's do this. I wish you happy holidays, congratulations to API Forward. And let's turn it back.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Ng, one more time for that keynote. To everybody watching and here in Zoom, let's put our hands together, virtual hands together one more time for Dr. Ng. Hit that clap emoji as many times as you want and show her some love this evening. We do have some time, Dr. Ng, if we can, to send some questions your way, which I did receive quite a number of them privately. So I'd like to just kick off with this question. There are many leaders that are still in position today that adhere to the old way of thinking. How do we bring them along?
So I think you're always gonna find that. And I think some of that stuff of really listening and not just bantering back and forth and being so antagonistic, I do think that helps. And like I said, I was on the other side where I'm like, I just couldn't wait to speak as soon as they're talking, and you're like, it's a very non-productive conversation, and not what do you call it when you're just not patronizing them. You're like, let's agree to disagree. Or my other favorite thing I always say is like, tell me more, because sometimes when you do that, then you kind of delve into what really they're thinking and what they're really upset about or what they really believe. I hope that helps.
Thank you for that. Another one that I want to pose to you is, how do you handle hostility and stressful situations when you yourself as a leader may be exhausted and no one is listening?
I am honest with you. I'm going to tell you, I live by a handful of things that makes things very easy to me. I'm honest, I'm authentic, and I'm responsive. And like I said, if I'm the same with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's my 17-year-old daughter, my husband, you all, my staff. I am pretty even keeled on how I treat people across the board. So a lot of times it's not me, it's them. And if it is, then you have the opportunity to come say, hey, I didn't like the way you said that to me. I didn't like that tone. Did you mean this? And then you have a conversation. So it's a little easier when you behave the same way across the board and you're the same person across the board. And again, if people don't like you, they don't like you. I don't like a lot of people too. So, I mean, but you surround yourself with fun, awesome, good people that have really good energy that you can feed off of. So I don't have too many people that way, right?
Yeah, surrounding yourself with positive vibes and positivity is only the way to go. I think we may have room for another one or two questions. Another one that I received, Dr. Ng, I think a lot of us in the room can probably relate to this. So often APIs are tapped into for feedback and advisory work. Likely that's how you got into the pilot program with the bank that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Did you have to scale back your volunteer board work and or mentorship during the challenging times of the pandemic?
So I don't know if it's scaling back. I think you had the time to realize what's important to you and what's not. So I'm thinking with this group, you're similar to me, is when you commit to something, you commit to it and you will give everything you possibly can to honor your commitment. You're not looking to get your name on a board to make your resume look good. I mean, yeah, that is nice, but that's not really the reason you commit to doing something. And when you don't feel excited to do something, when you don't feel excited to be there or to do the work, then you kind of know that's when you step back. And I think because I traveled so much more for business, and I didn't have that, then I could really evaluate that. But I do a check-in. I'm going to be honest with you. Every 6 months, I project out. Every 9 months, minimum, if not further. And I say, and I look at my calendar and I color code nonprofit work with business work, with personal stuff. And I'm like, if I say my family is the most important and they're the color yellow in my Outlook, but there's all this like green, which is nonprofit. I'm like, well, how can I say my priority is my family when I'm spending all my time doing nonprofit work? And then you kind of readjust. And I'll tell you, people understand that. And when you tell them what's important to you, and family is very important.
Cannot agree more. I think a lot of us also in the room would agree. Total goals, Dr. Ng with color coding. I would agree with you, Ashley, in the chat. So organized. I think, with so many responsibilities that we all juggle with, sometimes we just have to take those extra steps to let the folks around us know what's important and what our priorities are. I want to give the audience maybe 10 seconds to post any lingering questions that you may have before I turn it back over to Ashley and AK. All right, well, I am not seeing any more questions. Ask the right questions, be a good listener, be generous, invest in relationships. Those are great takeaways, Dr. Ng. Thank you so much again. Oh, actually, I'd like to make time for this question that we got from Michael that just came in. What's one book that you would recommend? That's a great question to leave with.
So my good friend, Richard Louis, who's on MSNBC, and is an amazing philanthropist, community person in the Asian community and elsewhere in the Alzheimer's and stuff. He just recently wrote this book called Enough About Me that talks about selflessness and giving back. And it's easy to read. It's just little anecdotes on how to be a better person and not to get discouraged when you're spending a lot of time doing selfless acts. So yeah, it's a great book. Another one is it's called The Millennial Samurai by George Chanos, and it's another easy, like there's like a ton of chapters, like 200 chapters in there, but they're like 2 pages each. And it's a message because in this era of the millennials, like what it's going to take to succeed, because that's different than the Gen X or the Gen Zers or, the baby boomers. And it's applicable regardless of what generation you allegedly are. But it's called The Millennial Samurai. And George is another friend of mine out of Las Vegas. And doesn't matter how much you always pick a couple takeaways.
Well, one more time, thank you so much, Dr. Ng, for spending your time with us. It's an honor to have you as our keynote this year. Now I'd like to turn it over to AK to help wrap up the program tonight.
All right, thank you so much, Christian. Now, this year we have 4 wonderful students joining our Forward Leadership Program. They are Anita Tang, Daisy Dick, Andrew Jackson, and Min Uk Jung. Anita Tang is a PSU student enrolled in Urban and Public Planning. Daisy Dick, a student enrolled in PSU Business Management Program. Andrew Jackson, a student from PCC enrolled in Computer Information Systems. And Minuk Jung, a student from Pacific University majoring in kinesiology. As part of the 4-month-long program, they'll be working teams on a project that supports the equity work of Home Forward, which is our Multnomah County's housing authority. So your donations tonight will go towards the scholarship for these scholars. Please help us to welcome these 4 new cohorts. And I believe there are some here with us tonight. Welcome. Also, our programs needs your support. Please, if you haven't done so already, check out our donate link here in the chat box and get that. And we hope that you'll be able to leave us some generous donations tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Ashley.
Wow. Thank you, AK, and what a wonderful evening we've had with all of you. I don't know how it always happens, but this hour has just flown by. It's been exciting to meet our new cohort and know that API Forward is moving toward the right path. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope you're as excited as we are for the direction that we're taking. We look forward to seeing you in 2022. If you have questions, please kindly reach out to our directors. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great and safe night. Goodbye, everyone.